Hey everyone, back for another Root Digital playthrough, only things are going to look a little different for this game because this is my first game, at least the one that I'm posting, that takes place after the Underworld expansion arrived. So this is huge. Not only are we going to see both of the new factions in play, but we're also going to be playing on a brand new map, the Mountain Map, and boy have I got a game for you. So right off the bat, we are looking at a situation where we're 4th in turn order, which, you know, is usually not that ideal, but it means we get to pick our faction. And of course, I really want to choose a new faction, but looking at my hand, it's not the best for the moles, unfortunately, and the crows are currently locked. That's what happens when you have the last faction that comes out that's insurgent. It gets locked until a militant faction, a high reach faction comes in, but I still just couldn't resist, so I went with the moles, even though my hand doesn't really suit a moles pick. I have 2 bird cards, which I'm not going to want to keep. I know one of them's bird ambush, but you just, as you play the moles, you really realize that even bird ambush is not great because you have to discard your bird cards at the end of the turn once you've revealed them. And what you want to usually do is set up so that you can sway Brigadier on your first turn and get a couple of recruits as well to start stockpiling warriors in your burrow. The next player chooses Corvids, and this is a bit of a problem. Any faction that has starting pieces on the map that are not in the homeland, like the moles currently do, right, where they have the tunnel is my homeland clearing, but those 2 adjacent ones, the fox and the rabbit, are not homelands. Therefore the Corvids can start in those clearings and flip a plot on me before I even have a chance to take my turn, which is very threatening because of the extortion plot. That's the scariest one. They did a little bit of a fake out where it looks like they wanted to go somewhere not where any of my pieces are, but then they changed their mind and decided that they did want to put a plot on top of my warriors turn 1, which is pretty annoying. I'm assuming they initially wanted to go with that mouse clearing up top because they probably wanted to craft something, but thought, nah, let's be mean to the moles, which honestly, I am kind of in agreement with. So my initial plan is not so intact anymore because what I wanted to do was recruit once and then move up into that northern rabbit clearing. That way I could reveal my 3 rabbit cards and then sway the Brigadier to amplify my action economy right away. But now there's a plot that I have to deal with, so it's a bit problematic right from the start, but that's fine. Dealing with problems is what we do. I'm a bit curious about this placement of the Ronin right over there on the far right forest. Usually you want to have access to 3 or more ruins when you choose your starting forest. There are 2 forests on this map that are adjacent to 3 different ruins, and even if the plan was to go to that fox ruin clearing right away anyway, you might want to at least leave room for doubt because now they basically are telegraphing where they want to go, so not really the best spot for the Ronins to set up, in my opinion. The Cats player chose in first seat, which is really interesting. So Cats notably do really well on this mountain map, and they got to go first, which is a pretty strong position to be in. And if we look, all of the pieces so far, all the crow and mole pieces are over on the left side of the map, so the Cats basically have the entire right half of the map all to themselves if they want, so they wisely set up over on that side of the map so they can kind of monopolize that whole side. Now, if you notice in the chat, I saw that they chose Cats, which means that, you know, because Cats obviously have a warrior in every clearing, they're also susceptible to whatever the crows are going to flip. And because they set up right on top of me, the most harmful plot for me at this stage would be an extortion. So I'm trying to table talk the Cats into exposing that plot. it's sort of on my behalf, but it's also, I'm making the case for why it's a good thing for the cats to do. It's a free piece of cardboard, because if you get an exposure guess right, you get a victory point, and it's action neutral. Exposure is an action neutral thing. If you're wrong, you have to lose a card, which is not great, but in my opinion, it's pretty obviously an extortion. Why else would they put the plot right on top of one of the enemies? Obviously getting rid of the 2 bird cards. I don't think that the crows would want to bomb on turn 1 because a bomb doesn't stick around. It doesn't add to your point scoring and crafting. And I'm not so worried about a raid or a snare, but it's the extortion that I'm really scared of because I don't have a chance to respond before it can be flipped. So I'm trying to make the case why it is in Cat's interest, and coincidentally mine, to make an exposure guess. So let's see if they go for it. And they did! They got it! It was an extortion, of course, and I will say that we're not supposed to see which card it was, only the Corvids are supposed to be able to see, but damn, that's great, so we don't have to worry about that turn 1 extortion anymore. Fantastic. So, of course, cats ended up getting the big benefit, but I kinda got a bit of a benefit as well. I feel a bit bad for the Corvids, though. Losing that plot token before they could craft anything is definitely not good. So they've got some work to do. They're essentially starting with standard setup right now, where they have some warriors all over the map, but no plot token to speak of. Very rough. So look at this cat opening, very interesting. They went with a build overwork build, which if you play a lot of competitive cats, you'll know that that is the kind of go-to strategy for advanced cat play, which is you get a sawmill, you get a recruiter, and that way you can start getting your recruiter on turn 2, your card draw goes up. They did have a bird card, and it was what they tried with the extortion, and they were fortunate enough to get it right, and they used the extra action to recruit, which is great. Now they have a recruiter in the pass. The pass gives them 1 free victory point per turn, and since the cats are so good at ruling, that's kind of what gives them the edge on this map. Now, as we can see, the decision to start in that forest is already affecting the game because the Ronin kind of had to go into that forest. They could have moved first, but they opened up a ruin in a very advantageous place for the cats, so they right off the bat gave the cats a big advantage when they could have gone to any other ruin had they started in a different forest. So this just goes to show you, leave your options open even if you think you're committed to that particular clearing, especially if you're not first in turn order. You don't even know where the cats were going to set up. Alright, so Corvids putting another plot in a clearing where I'd like to go to, and they've double plotted, which is, a little bit questionable. You're really cutting down on your warrior density right at the start. But I understand, they lost a plot, so they kind of need to make up that scoring pace again. Of course, it's a plot on my warriors, which is very irritating, so if I get extorted, would not like that. Here's where I actually did a little bit of a misplay. I think it's not a misplay in digital because currently you cannot do exposure in evening. They should fix that as soon as possible because what you're supposed to be able to do is do your whole daylight phase, sway your minister, then bring your cards back into your hand and do an extortion or an exposure attempt. But right now we can't do it in evening for some reason. It's a bit of a programming bug, so I went for it in daylight, and unfortunately I got it wrong. I'm okay knowing that it's not an extortion that's going to steal a card from my hand, so whether it's a snare or a raid, I don't really care. A bomb would be annoying, but at the same time, I just don't want to lose cards at this stage. So because I got it wrong, I have no choice but to sway a squire on my first turn, which isn't totally great, but it's not a disaster either. So, hey, that actually worked out decently well. I got a fox card, and I already have 3 warriors and a fox clearing, so I'll probably, if all goes well, probably be able to sway a noble on turn 2. So, okay. Could have been worse. Could have been a bird card. Bird cards are terrible draws for the moles at this stage because it's just a little bit too risky to start placing buildings this early. Even though markets would amplify my card draw, it would just be too much of a weak point too early on in the game. The cats are playing very solidly right now. They set up their 3rd recruiter. This is the standard build order of you get your 2nd sawmill and 2nd workshop on turn 1, and then turn 2 you get the recruiter. That way you can start drawing 2 cards per turn instead of 1, which is really nice for the cats, but it's especially nice on this map where card wealth translates into extra victory points from opening up the closed pathways. Watch this little maneuver here. So the cats move a single warrior into this mouse clearing. Now that gives them rule, and that allows them to vacate the plot clearing. So they might have anticipated an extortion, but they didn't want to necessarily risk a card on it, which is very, very clever. This play kind of signals to me that the cats player knows what they're doing because they anticipated how they would have to move their warriors around to rule and vacate the clearing without having to battle or risk a card. So I think the cats are a bit of a threat. Not only are they first seat on their best map, but it seems like the cats player knows what they're doing, so a little bit scary. And they're already at 7 points when the rest of us are at 1 and 2 and 0. Yeah, this could be an easy cats game if we just let them have the rest of the map. So, yeah, as expected, they had the extortion there. I was worried about an extortion down on me, but they probably learned their lesson and didn't go for as aggressive of an extortion. I don't care at all that it's a raid. If it gets battled, okay, they get some free recruitment, but at least it wasn't a bomb or an extortion, so that's fine. So I don't exactly know if this is happenstance or if the crows are being very deliberate with this, but they are plotting in important clearings for the cats. One clearing has the sawmill, the other is going to very soon have 3 building slots, and it has 3 warriors currently. So I think when you realize that one faction is sort of running away with it, quote, you should probably start plotting in their territory to give them an extra job to do, extra things they have to do. The risk is you might end up giving them more points, but it also just creates a lot of problems. In general, that's what you're doing when you plot in someone's area. If they kept plotting on top of me, then I'd have to handle them, and that takes away from my ability to develop and eventually pose a threat to the cats. The other interesting thing about this is the 3 of their plots are in rabbit at this point, and only 1 in mouse. So this signals to me that they have something that they're trying to craft. Maybe they have coins or coffin makers or something. So you got to be careful when you have a faction that telegraphs their crafting like this. So this was a pretty straightforward turn. I just recruited twice and swayed the mayor. Now I have brigadier and mayor, which means my action economy, or I should say, sorry, I have the marshal on turn 1 and I got the brigadier now. So my action economy is pretty good, but it's not fully online until I have the mayor and brigadier combo. So I'm, in a sense, a turn behind, because of that plot that I had to try and guess. Yeah, cats are wisely opening up some pathways. Take those points while you've got them. Cats aren't the most card-rich faction, but they're one of the least card-hungry factions. They really only use their cards for, if they're bird cards, they'll get extra actions, but generally you're only really using them for field hospitals and the occasional overwork. And of course, whatever you can craft, but they have a lot of spare cards in general. So spare cards really do you a lot of favors on this map because you can get some extra points and increase your mobility at the drop of a hat when you really need to. So it looks like they weren't willing to gamble another card and they just elected to battle the Corvids away. Which is great. Now the Corvids have nothing to flip on their next turn. I should also say that the cats correctly guessed a raid in that mouse clearing. I didn't even notice that until now. Whew, they're doing a great job. I mean, I kind of convinced them to get that plot on turn 1, but that was a pure cold read on the raid there, which is impressive. It currently only connects to 3 clearings, but if those paths were open, it would have connected to 5. Which would have been a great spot for a raid after the flip. That's probably what the Corvids were planning. So cats are doing great right now. We're all still under 5 victory points and they're already at like 13. Jeez. So Vagabond is sort of recognizing the threat and decides to go after the cats, but eats an ambush as a result. Very interesting because it was a bird ambush. I think I might have held on to the ambush. I'm not sure. Generally, Vagabond is not usually worth throwing an ambush at them unless they're very item tight because it destroys a larger proportion of their items when they have very few. But if they have a lot of items, 2 hits, they'll just destroy 2 things that don't matter. But as we can see, it hit 2 of their boots, which means that now they're gonna have a really hard time moving around the map now that they've willingly gone hostile with the cats this early. I generally don't advocate for going hostile this soon. It's gonna really hamper their movement and there's no more aid farming that can be done against the cats. So if they wanna get any points from aid, it's gonna have to be the Corvids or the moles, which is really, really advantageous for us if they start aid farming us. And did they just throw away 2 item cards? This is, very curious. I'm not sure what the plan of the Vagabond is right now. But again, Corvids are wisely choosing to recruit in a lot of the stuff that's currently occupied by the cats. Those 3 mouse clearings are all cloistered in the top right, which is firmly within the cat's territory, so you want to be causing problems for the first place player right now. Nominally, moles are a bigger threat, but I think the score and the map and the situation at hand right now is leaning towards a cat game, so they're doing a lot of double plotting, which is, it's good for getting yourself set up to have a big swing of points, but it's really leaving a lot of their plots under-defended. I like that path removal with the soup kitchens. It's a great use for soup kitchens. Probably the best I've ever seen, honestly. Denying a point from the cats and taking it for themselves. Problem is that because the Duchy needs to use their cards for other things in daylight, I can't open up those pathway without costing myself my hand cards that I need for sway or dig or build or other things. So it really falls on the Corvids, and to an extent the Vagabond, to open up those paths to take the points from the cats. So notably, the pass is empty at the moment, Of course, the Vagabond is in there, but they don't contest for rule at all, so I'm just gonna throw a warrior in there and take a victory point for it. If you can rule the pass with a single warrior, I say do it. Yeah, so those warriors of mine don't 100% need to be up in the top left anymore because I already have 3 rabbit clearings, so I don't need to have presence in all these rabbit clearings in order to do my sways anymore. Now I thought to myself and I realized, wait, I am just planning on swaying a noble this turn, so I only really need 3 cards in hand right now. The trouble is, because I can't afford to put a building down just yet, I'm still gonna have only 4 cards going into the next turn, which is kind of tight, but I did get a Fox Ambush, so we'll see if that's worth anything. Notably, the pass is a Fox Clearing, so could end up being very meaningful. Now the cats have been getting somewhat harassed by the corvids via their plot placements, but they still haven't been meaningfully hampered. They still have 2 sawmills and 2 recruiters, so slight bit of setback, but overall nothing too damaging. They make another exposure attempt. And another correct guess. Oh my goodness, these cats are geniuses. This is their 3rd correct guess, and their deductions was really good on that. That was a very interesting read. Yeah, the bomb was probably, the bomb in the top right, I think was a good guess as well, just because it has 2 building slots, so the chances of it having cardboard later are pretty good, and I'm guessing the corvids were planning on flipping that once some cardboard were placed in there. But that snare was pretty clever guess, because it does have a recruiter, which means anytime the cats did a recruit action, they would miss out on a warrior recruit in that clearing, as long as the snare were face up. Ugh, gobbling up all the pathway points. This is troublesome right now. Yeah, so again, evading a potential flip. I think they don't want to get extorted, because cats getting extorted, it's kind of bad, because if you lose a bird card, that's really harmful to cats overall. I don't know why they took all the warriors out of that clearing, but in any case, this is very strong cats play, because now they're at 18. That's almost 3 times as many points as I have right now. It is 3 times as many as the Vagabond has, so they're definitely surging ahead, and they're gonna need a good smacking if we're gonna want to have a chance to stop the cats in this situation. So I have to do something, because I'm the only other militant faction at this table. Yeah, this is where the cats are explaining their reasoning for guessing snare. Really good anti-crow play. So, I'm just... Yeah, Swift Strike is just not a very good ability. You'll see the Ronin in this game used it a few times, and sometimes it didn't really make that much of a difference. Here they didn't use it, but they could have actually used it because all they needed was one extra hit. But in general, it's better to just do another battle than to deal one extra hit. If it exhausted any item besides the sword, it would be a great ability, but I think that Ronin could have used a little extra attention when it was getting designed. So I also don't really understand why we're hitting the crows here. They're kind of in last place. They are in last place. And it's the cats that need to get smacked. So I think Vagabond is just going pure infamy, hoping to outrace the cats. But yeah, I guess that means it's gonna fall on Crows and I to do something about these cats. Yeah, I'm also a little bit... I think Underworld in general was really good, but there were a few aspects of the design at that time that could have been slightly worked a little bit. Like, the Ronin is one example with the ability, but also the fact that the tower gives an extra point at the end of evening. It's just so many extra points into the economy when you're already only going for 30. It kind of makes for faster games. Fortunately, there was a lot of entanglement in this game, so spoiler alert, it's not over yet. But in general, I don't like that the landmark that gives extra points exists on the map that also gives extra points in the form of the pathways. The pathways I'm fine with because there's only 6 of them, but the tower can give a lot of extra points. Notably, the Corvids chose not to flip that plot up in the top right, and it wasn't a bomb, if you remember. So, what is it? I'm surprised. If it were, I guess it's probably an extortion, because, they wouldn't want to have 2 face-up extortions necessarily, because that makes exposure much easier when they have matching plots face-up. So that's probably why they didn't flip it, but I think they could have. So Corvids, interestingly, made a grab for the pass, which is great, because that denies the pass from the cats. They can still retake it, but it's a lot more effort to overrule 4 Corvid warriors. So we're gonna go ahead and build, because at this stage we've got kind of nothing to lose. We need to amplify our development and really start crafting some stuff, get some more card draw, because if we're gonna try to outrace the cats, not only do we need some punching power, which I have in the form of 7 warriors in my burrow, but I'm also gonna need to start scoring faster, and I can't reasonably do that without having a bit more card draw, a bit more sway potential. So I left 2 warriors in the burrow just because I don't want necessarily all of them to be vulnerable. I need a good number to dissuade anyone from trying to take out my building. Even though I'm pretty low in the pecking order right now, I still don't want anyone, especially the Vagabond, who seems to be in a little bit opportunism mode. I wouldn't want anyone to get any ideas about trying to come after me just because there's 2 pieces of cardboard sort of sitting there. I mean, if they took that out, they would be cutting into my action economy. So I wouldn't if I were them, but you never know what people are gonna plan. So I also need a big enough army to punch through and do some damage to the keep. Now, I'm not expecting to actually make a huge impact at the keep, but I do need to start battling them because that is some degree of pressure. Yes, they have field hospitals, but if I can force them to burn bird cards to defend the keep, then at least that's still action denial if I can force them to spend their bird cards. Yeah, I obviously cannot dig into the keep because that would be placing a tunnel token, and of course you can't place anything in the keep. So I elected to take all of my warriors, don't leave anything behind because I don't want to get flipped with another extortion, just in case that's an extortion. So the Crows player is justifiably asking me why I didn't dig a little bit closer. Partly it's that I didn't want too much extra cardboard, but I also wanted to hold on to the ambush in hand, just in case they had a bird ambush, I could block it. So that was part of my reasoning. I wanted to maybe hold on to the ambush, but also I just really was considering what I was going to sway, and I wanted to leave my options open. Yeah, so I make up a little bit of a phony baloney reason of I needed it for the sway. I'm still planning on swaying a squire instead because I need more actions at this stage. I don't need the banker just yet. It's too early in the game to go for banker. And I don't want to have all of my nobles swayed before I, get a lord swayed because I have a building. So I don't want to run the risk of losing out. So I end up going for the captain because I have a feeling that more battles are going to be needed. Probably shouldn't have revealed that ambush, but oh well. I was hoping to avoid getting punched. So I really like Charm Offensive for moles. I know there's a sort of reputation that moles have a lot of cards already, but the truth is that isn't necessarily the case in a lot of competitive mole games because placing buildings is such a liability. Obviously, you need to place a building for being able to craft Charm Offensive in the first place, but sometimes what I like to do is I like to build a citadel instead of a market and then craft Charm Offensive. Because then Charm Offensive kind of acts as if I had a market, but now instead of actually having a market, I have more warrior generation, which could be very crucial. Now, critically, the cats did not have any cards to use for field hospitals, it seems, so all their cardboard is very exposed, but they are next in turn order, so they had the opportunity to protect their stuff. Look at this beautiful maneuver. They didn't rule the keep, and they didn't rule the pass, so they had just this one little warrior in that Ronin's clearing and were able to move through to reestablish rule and then defend their keep. I'm very impressed with this cat's play. I don't think they knew that I had the ambush, but then again, me playing it weakens my hand as well, so maybe that was part of their plan. But ooh, a 2-2 roll and an ambush really hurts because look at that. All 4 warriors just got removed from that clearing. It's so painful. Yeah, that was a really harsh turn for the cats. They moved, battled, lost a whole bunch, clearly didn't have bird cards, otherwise they would have probably used field hospitals, and then just recruited to rebuild their position. So they scored 0 points on that turn. Yeah, it's at this stage that I start wondering if we sort of overcorrected. I think the cats are still in a strong position, but there's a really delicate line with policing the cats where you don't want to completely take them out of the game, and of course Vagabond is in infamy farming mode. This is what I would consider a good instance of Swift Strike because of the keep. So they deal an extra hit before the field hospitals kicks in, so they could at least have one swing at a single cardboard piece. And then the cats are almost certainly going to field hospitals if they can, so that means that an extra battle would not have been as worth it because you would have been battling more warriors, but the Swift Strike allowed them to take one little poke at a recruiter before the field hospitals, and thank God for the cats that they had a card. It hurts to have to use their bird card, which I presume is their only card, seeing as they're still just drawing 1 per turn. At least it's their only card that matches. Oh, they have 3 other cards. Yeah, they presumably only have other cards that they cannot use to field hospitals in Fox. Wow, good crafting turn for the crows. They got a bag and a boot. And they got both bags, so they've been crafting a decent amount. They might have even crafted other things in the past that have already been lost to the cats. So, interesting. That feels like a bit of a bluff. The extortion in the pass. It makes sense that it's well defended. You want to defend your extortions more than your raids. But, interesting position for it. And the fact that it now reveals 2 extortion plots, which means that now any future plot must necessarily be one of 3 rather than one of 4. So it's going to make future extortion or exposure guesses slightly easier. Got extortion, exertion, exposure, blech. It's hard to keep it all straight. Ooh, going after a juicy looking clearing. Yeah, it was a really tough position that the cats were in because they had to use kind of all of their actions to try to reposition and regain rule of the keep clearing, and they didn't really have a lot of opportunities to build because they just didn't rule. They didn't rule many places, so... That plot looks so much like a bomb because it's sitting on 3 pieces of cardboard, but would the Corvids player be that obvious? Thing is, if the Corvids player had been playing worse, I would guess bomb if I were the cats, but this Corvids player seems pretty clever, so I don't think it's a bomb. So the Corvids notably leapt up at both the Vagabond and the Corvids player have leapt ahead while the cats took a stall turn, and now they're all in the teens range. We got an 18, a 15, a 16, so Corvid's catching up. And I'm still down there at 10. Thankfully, I am the Duchy, which is a great faction for racing and getting ahead in points, but I still have some work to do. So we're going to try and do a little bit of Corvid policing, because if they could happen to flip that plot, that would be worth 3 points, and if it's a bomb, which I suspect it's not, it would be 3 extra points. And not to mention they have a flippable plot right there. This is the worst. When you don't take out a plot in a single battle, it's just... Dealing with embedded agents once is already really harsh, especially for a warrior-sensitive faction like Duchy, but yeah. When you have to face embedded agents multiple times, it's really tough. So this turn probably could have gone a little bit better. I could have maybe found a way to sway a lord this turn, but now I've done all of my nobles, so I cannot sway, and I lose the ability to sway with 3 cards at this stage. This is the other reason why you kind of want to get Brigadier, Mayor, and then try to get some lords when you can, because later on it could be a lot harder to sway lords, so it's nice to be able to have the back pocket, well, at least I can sway a noble, but now I can't. Now the only options for me going forward are lords or squires. So I went ahead and crafted a boot. This is a great hand. So here's a little interesting thing. Because the Duchy are the other faction that likes to dom swap, not just for harming the opponent, but for helping ourselves, I threw the Rabbit Dominance into the discard just in case I might need to use the Bird Ambush to dom swap, rather than throw away a card that just goes straight into the discard. Because who knows? Maybe I want to keep the Bird Ambush, or maybe I will need another Rabbit card. At least I have that option when the Dominance card is in the discard. So they of course guess bomb because that's the most threatening, and it's the wrong plot suit, or plot type, which I suspected. This is interesting. They went into daylight and then they went back to birdsong. Ah, that's why they had swap meet. So very interesting. So I think what they did was they wanted to use swap meet after they made the exposure attempt, just in case they had to give the card to the Corvids. They would want at least to have a chance of stealing that card back. That tells me that the card that they had for exposure was probably valuable. Very smart cat play. I'm really digging this game. This Cats player is impressing me a lot. Ooh, anytime the Cats battle and gets a 0-0, it always hurts when you roll 0-0, but for the Cats, it just hurts so much more because you're dedicating a whole third of your action economy to that, and just the 0-0 is so disheartening. I understand trying to hit the Ronin because they are probably worried that the Ronin is just going to keep farming them for points, even though I don't think the Cats are in the lead that they appear, because they're down to 2 sawmills again, so they're essentially at mid-game. But of course, vagabonds be vagabonds, so they're gonna go ahead and start farming for cardboard. This is where I really vehemently disagree with using Swift Strike, because they already did 2 hits. There were 2 warriors defending, so they used Swift Strike to deal 3 hits and hit 1 piece of cardboard. Now there's 2 pieces of cardboard left, but there's no more swords. If they had not chosen to do Swift Strike, sure, they wouldn't have hit the cardboard, but they would have had a chance of rolling again another battle and done potentially 2 hits plus an extra hit for defenseless. So they could have hit all 3 pieces of cardboard if they hadn't Swift Strike. This is why it's such a bad ability, honestly. Oof, poor Cats too, just getting farmed by this vagabond who's also kind of struggling. I feel like they could have maybe done a forest turn or something. Oh wow, Corvid's on a really good crafting game so far. This is the other reason Vagabond's lagging, is because they haven't got their T yet. Personally, I would never choose a Vagabond, especially the Ronin, if I didn't have a T in my starting hand, but you know, the Vagabond is sort of like a safety pick for a lot of people. It's one that a lot of people are more comfortable with than Cats, or the new factions, obviously. So it was a raid, which is an interesting spot for a raid, considering it's only connected to 3 clearings, and one of them is the keep, so it's technically only adjacent to 2. Best card for Corvids just went right out the trash. Eerie Emigre. Underrated. Whew. Corvids now sitting at 23, and the Vagabond just left 2 free pieces of cardboard right there for them. This is a bad situation, and they have 5 warriors in the pass, which means not only are they scoring an extra point this turn, it's going to be a lot of effort to deny them that pass point on their next turn. So we could be rapidly looking at a Corvids game. And this is why I don't like preemptively policing the Cats too much, because they're very easy to stop. Yeah, Corvid's at 26 points. Oh my god. Now here's one thing that I think I disagree with a little bit, is that they plotted again. And when you have a plot and you're at 26 points, ain't no way the table's gonna let you flip that. They're gonna either expose you 3-4 times, come down and battle you away. We ain't letting you flip that guy. No way, no how. So I think that at this point you just give up on trying to flip for the win, which they 100% would. That would be 4 points right there. They would just win if we let them flip, assuming that all the other plots live. So it's probably best to just hunt for cardboard at this stage, because I don't think the cats outrace the corvids. I don't think the vagabond outraces the corvids, and I'm only at 14. So I think that plotting might not have been the right call. Hey, I got a good guess. All right, is that my first correct guess? I'm not even sure why they put a snare. I think it's just like it was. Oh, I remember why I guessed that. Notice which plots they have face up. They have 2 extortions and 2 raids face up, meaning that it could literally only have been a bomb or a snare. And I just went with what seemed more obvious, which was a snare. So I had a 50-50 shot at getting a free victory point, so this is the other reason why I think plotting was not the right call there. So we're going to try and battle them away, just because even though those plots are already flipped, you do not want them to be able to craft. And currently, they have 2 rabbit plots right now. And they put another plot in a rabbit clearing, which signals to me that they probably are holding on to coins, and coins would just 100% win them the game if they managed to keep it, because they could easily find another point of cardboard if they got the coins. So it was very important to take out that plot there. And it was also a point for me, so huzzah. Now I only have the banker left, so I can't even contest them for the keep, but if you notice, I have 5 cards, and I only need 4 to do a good sway. So I can use the banker right now for a free victory point. And what am I gonna do? I'm going to banker the bird ambush. And now, since I have 4 cards, I can finally go ahead and sway a lord. Normally, I'd like to have a lord way before this point, because I've had that building for a while now. So we're going to Charm Offensive. I just realized the Vagabond resigned. I think they might just have sensed that they don't win. And I think they've taken so much damage that they probably just need to take a forest turn anyway. So it didn't end up mattering in this game. But yeah, so we're going to obviously give the victory point to the AI player, who's definitely not going to win now. It's just embarrassing if you lose to the computer. But yeah, cats could have taken the point, but definitely not Corvid sitting at 26. Yeah, cats had a rough game because they got farmed by the Vagabond, which I think was slightly unjust, and because they took such an early lead, the Corvids had to plot all over them and cause them issues, and I battled them a whole bunch, so they definitely got 3v1'd, which is not what you want to happen as the cats, but they've played a really strong game thus far. Like, I think a lot of cat players would have definitely either lost the keep by this point or just resigned, but kudos to the cats player. They swap met my Master Engravers and gave it right back, which tells me they've got something good. Yeah, they took quite a bit of time on this, so I've cut some of it out, but they ended up building, I think that they are just kind of resigned to hoping that the Corvids don't make it and that I entangle with the corvids and we punch each other down. So I think what they did was the right call, because there's no way they're going to close this game out anytime soon without building some sawmills. They only had one going into that turn, so it's just a very rough position for them. Yeah, they could have contested me or contested the crows, I should say, for the pass, but that would have required moving 5 to tie and 6 to overrule the crows, which would have left only 3 warriors defending the keep, which if you don't have any fox or bird cards, probably not the position you want to be in. Not to mention they're only drawing 1 card per turn. Yeah, I think that we kind of overcorrected against the cats. Yeah. But nonetheless, they played a very strong game. So can the corvids close it out? I think that we did probably deny them some type of craft. The crossbow and the hammer are already gone, if I recall, and the boots are gone as well, because I crafted one and the corvids have already crafted the other. So they were probably angling for the coins craft. Yeah, see, because they got their plot exposed, they are effectively down an action, down a warrior, and they're plotting again. Yeah, like I said, no one's gonna let that live. I mean, now one of the players is an AI, so they have slightly better chances of living, but it's only defended by 2. We're not gonna let you flip that, bro. I would have probably, They get a point from the pass, so that could bring them to 27. I think I would have just gone for a cat cardboard and yeah, it's tough because now there's not a whole lot of just easy cardboard left, at least not for them to close. I think it's definitely, they're hoping for a coins craft, but the thing is, if that were face up and it weren't so easy, or it weren't so threatening of a flip, we might have let it live. But yeah, the fact that it's face down means they just win if they flip it. So I'm trying to math out what this could be. It's definitely not a raid, but it's a bit too threatening. But if it's a plot for the win, it could only be a bomb. Let's go with bomb. Hey, it was a bomb! Oh my god. Alright, so that takes me to 21. Now, that changes things because every victory point matters at this stage of the end game, especially on the mountain map where it only has 4 warriors. I could potentially rule it for 22, and another 8 points is not outside the realm of possibility, especially when I have tea in my hand and the Baron of Dirt with a building already there, so that's guaranteed 1 point for the Baron of Dirt. If I build something in Mouse, then I could get 2 points for Baron of Dirt, 2 points for the tea, that's 4. That takes me to 25. Where are the other 5 points gonna come from? The pass is possible. The other important thing is, at this stage, the ability to use Banker and Mayor to get rid of the cards in your hand is actually more point efficient than a Sway, because Sway is 4 cards that you have to hold on to until the end of daylight for 3 victory points. That's what swaying a lord is 4 cards for 3 points. But with Banker and Mayor, to copy the Banker ability, that's 1 card per, or 1 point per card, so it's a slightly better ratio of points. So at this stage of the game, you have to be able to look at the ability to get rid of your whole hand if it can help you close. So I'm just working through a lot of different things, and I'm feeling the pressure of the 5-minute timer. At this stage, it's like being with a no turmoil eerie situation where you just have 12 actions that you have to run through, and it's just so precise. So I have to build. There's no question beyond that, because that's a 3-point building right there with the Tea-Craft and Baron of Dirt. So that build just has to happen. Unfortunately, I don't have the formal, which would have allowed me to build later in my daylight. I have to do it in the assembly actions, those 2 free actions at the start of the turn, because without formal, it has to be part of your early actions. So I couldn't do something else. Now I'm just trying to calculate all the actions. The pass is another easy victory point, so that gets us part of the way there. But can I battle some cardboard? I can only craft 1 of the teas, so there's no point in trying to build somewhere else. I couldn't even do it without the formal, since I only had the one mouse card. And now just here, I'm realizing, as the last minute countdown starts, I'm realizing that I don't have the actions to reach the tower where that extortion token is without every single action. So now I'm using all of my actions to get where I need to be. Was it a good idea to leave all my cardboard exposed for the corvids to swoop in and take it? Or the cats? I don't know, but at this stage I am in too much of a rush to care. The other assembly action is the building. Oh god. Oh my god. Use the marshal to get up into the pass. Do we need to leave 1 behind? We're not swaying, but at least it's a backup option if things don't work out. It's just, I'm not thinking straight right now. Baron of Dirt, easy 2 points, has to happen. Oh boy. We have 3 battles between the captain and the brigadier, so we're gonna straight away do the banker trick, 2 points for 2 cards. And then we have the mayor that allows us to copy the banker ability. Where are you, banker? There you are. And we're gonna hold on to the T, of course, because that card's worth 2 points, so we're not gonna banker that card. Oh, these animations are wasting my time. I have 3 battles to do. I have to take out that cardboard because that's an extra point. Oh, they have an ambush. Come on, come on, come on. I should not have wasted time typing this out, but there's an animation that's wasting my time. Battle again, come on! Oh my god, it still has 1 defender. I have to roll a 2, have to roll a 2. And I just ran out of time. So I'm just getting the notice now that the AI took over my turn because I ran out of time. Charm Offensive. Don't craft League of Adventures. Oh, I crafted the T! Yes! Yes! And the pass victory point gets us to 30. Whew. Oh, my heart was racing at this stage. It's racing right now just rewatching this. And that is a amazing closeout as the Duchy. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope that was fun for you, and I'll see you next time.